Hello, I'm Jerome from the band Rome, and I've been going for 20 years with this project, but it's the first time I'll be in Australia in about 10 days from now, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Very nice. Thanks for joining us this evening, mate.
Well, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, as you say, you're headed this way in about 10 days for your first ever shows in Australia, starting in Adelaide on August the 22nd. Then you hit Melbourne and Brisbane and finish in Sydney on August the 30th. So, I guess the big question is, mate, why have you neglected us for so long?
Good question. Well, there were a few attempts before, but there was COVID and there was this and that. So finally, we got this back on track for this year. And also because it's our 20-year anniversary, we do a big tour. And so I guess we waited a little bit to make it happen this year as well.
Yeah, so being your first time here, bro, like you've got a lot of fans over here, but they might not quite know what to expect from your live. So run us through your live show and what they can expect.
Well, this Australian tour is going to be a stripped back solo show. So it's just going to be me basically on guitar. So it's not the whole band. It's not the big kaboom of the big thundering drums that we're kind of known for, but it's more of a honest, direct, intimate kind of approach with me just on guitar, revisiting some of the material I've written in the last several years, and yeah, just basically taking it back to the roots.
Yeah, cool. So on the flip side of that coin too, bro, like you got no idea what to expect from us either. So what are you expecting from Aussie crowds?
Oh, I have no expectations whatsoever, really. I mean, I've never been there, so my first time in Australia. I've heard many, many good things about it, but yeah, I'm just very thrilled to even be able to go there. So it's all good.
It's all good. So when you're going somewhere for the first time, like coming here, like do you do your research? Do you ask people that have been here before what to expect, or do you prefer to come in cold and just make it up as you go along?
Bit of both. I mean, you kind of do inquire, like maybe about the venues, about what other bands to play with, and is the promoter any good, or the sort of that sort of stuff. With some colleagues of mine that have been there and worked with the same people. And if there's green lights there, if I have the time, I will try to read up a bit on the place I'm going to. But yeah, it's right now. I've been quite busy recently, so I'm going in quite cold, to be honest.
Nice. You'll be fine, brother. You'll be fine.
I think so.
So
Yes.
you're going to be touring on the back of your most recent album, Civitas Solus, which came out in April. So how was the reception for that one?
I think it was good. I think it was good. I mean, it's a bit of an avalanche that we are putting people through throughout this year because we just released another bundle of records to celebrate this anniversary. So the album's been received well, but it came along with the Dublin session that we did. So it's just like a lot of stuff being thrown at people, and yeah. So this year it's all coming out, and then we're clearing house.
Clear it out. Starting from the next 20 years.
Yes, exactly. Get
So,
rid of all the baggage.
so you've got like more than 20 albums to draw from, mate. So what's your selection process like when it comes to writing a set list? Do you throw darts at a dartboard? Like how do you do it?
Well, if it's with the band, it kind of dictates itself, depending on who's in the band at any given time. Currently, we have a new drummer, so we're kind of reworking everything. And because it's the 20th anniversary, we kind of try to give people a little overview of what we've been doing. But also, we have a bit of a much raw sound going, a bit more, I won't say aggressive, but like there's just like a lot of action, let's say. And with the solo bits, it's quite the opposite. I don't really have a set list. I mean, I have a long list of songs to fall back on, but I kind of know what I will start with and what I should end with. And in between, it's really just like reading the room and,
Yeah, well, that's pretty
if it's
cool.
yeah. So I'm not sure yet if I take requests, but it's kind of, yeah, improvised in a way, and
Yeah,
these
that's
songs are
cool.
like, I'm revisiting some stuff, and I play versions that were more like the original versions of the song because I write all the material on acoustic guitar first, and that's how I start the recording process. But then during that process, it might be that we drop the guitar altogether, or we add so many other layers that the song just takes on this totally different shape. Whereas in the solo bits, I really take it back to the basic form it had originally.
It's actually a really cool way to do it. Like, because every night you get up on stage, you got a different frame of mind. You got different stuff going on in your head. So if you've got your start and your end, and then everything else comes depending on how you feel, it make for an interesting set night after night.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of these slow kind of songs, these ballads and type, and sometimes they go over quite well. But if it's like a noisy room and people
Yeah.
just want to get a little like high, fast-paced energy or something, then I switch it, So it's really, and sometimes it's like such an intimate atmosphere that like the room is very receptive for like the more crooning kind of balladesque stuff.
Yeah.
So then I would do more of that. It really depends.
Yeah, it does. So your albums are all conceptually based, mate. So does that come into play when you're doing your set list? Like, is it difficult to get a flow on in your set using songs that have come from different conceptual ideas?
Not really, because there's on every album, even though there's a concept, there is always the attempt to make it listenable, so that you start off with something that, I try to have things on there that people can relate to, even if they haven't read the books or whatever, It's really about the music and taking people on a journey. So when I compile the set list, it's really, first of all, especially when I'm playing solo, like, is it doable with just the guitar? Because with the whole band, like we do use like a limited amount of like backing tracks to add like the samples that we often use and stuff like that, things you couldn't reproduce live anyway.
Yeah.
But with the solo shows, I don't have any sort of backing tracks. I could do this mini karaoke show that people tend to do when they're alone, but I just really want to be super honest, guitar, vocals, that's it. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of songs that you just cannot play that way because there's elements in there that are just too important to the soul of the song. And if it's not possible on the guitar, then I just drop those. And I try to, of course, have a little bit of a mix also from what periods there are. But yeah, it's kind of, I mean, the set lists write themselves pretty fast, to be honest, because there's a few songs that I know I have to play, some things I want to play, you know. It's quite okay.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the concept base of your albums, mate, like you do a lot of research. You're very meticulous in them. They're well thought out. They're well researched and detailed. But how much time do you actually spend in the research phase of each album?
Oh, it's always a bit different. I mean, I wrote this album, A Passage to Rhodesia, and there I didn't know anything about anything relating to that topic, which is why I was like, I don't know, I came across it and I thought, I don't know anything about this, but this seems very interesting. So that took many years from the first time I had the idea to do that until the release. And I actually started recording songs. This was like in 2007 or 8, but it was only released in 2014 because it took all that time for me, not just to read up on stuff and consider myself enough of an authority on the subject matter to even attempt this, but it took quite a bit of time to find the right voice, to be honest about this thing and, where you're coming from and what you want to transport. And so that took quite a bit of time. And in the meantime, I was working on other things. So I always have a few things on hold or like that I'm still working on, but it's not quite there yet. And but there's always like a current album that's in the making more than other things. So it's really hard to pin down. Like sometimes I write an album and it's really done. All the songwriting and all the music is done like within a week because it's just been a good week, But other times it takes forever. Well, it seems like forever anyway. So there's no clear formula there.
Yeah. And where does the inspiration come from with these concepts?
It's usually through reading. I come across something, or I come across a line somewhere, and I think, that should be a song, And then I, play around on the guitar, and then sometimes just things fall into place. You have this line in your head still, or I got all like bunch of notebooks filled with random stuff, and you kind of flip through those pages, and something screams out at you, knowing that like, okay, this one wants to be done with these chords that I just played, and that's how it all comes together. And then you add all the concepts and ideas to it, but there's always this initial spark that is not really controlled. It just happens, and then you squeeze it a little bit into the direction you want to go on the album. And then there's the whole other thing with about like what's the instrumentation? Is there any sort of theme to what instruments I use? And mostly it's about me and like my friend Tom, with whom I work in the studio, that we kind of limit ourselves specifically to, because you can do anything in the studio, you know, especially these days with technology, you can do whatever you want. So what we try to do is like limit the scope and just like go through all the synth sounds, for example, and just say, okay, we're only allowed to use these 10, you know, and then you kind of always fall back on those. Otherwise, you know, it's really hard to, because you would never get it finished. You know, I have a lot of friends who, I have a lot of friends who labor on for years and years and years on the album. By the time they kind of at some point it's kind of good, technology has moved forward so much that they kind of want to
again. So out of all the concepts that you've explored, I guess, like which one's the closest to your heart? Which one has given you the most enjoyment?
The next one.
The next one. Beautiful answer.
And it's really true, because I'm living always in the next album. Like either I'm looking for what it should be, or I'm gorging myself on the literature, or it's always you're on to the next canvas. Whatever's done is done. And of course, I, you know, only close a piece when I'm really happy with it and I want to release it. Even though I'm releasing quite a bit, there is quality control, you know, also by other people involved, you know, that I seek their opinion, like, is this any good? But yeah, usually the best album is yet to come.
That's a good motto to me. Now, normally I'd sort of disguise this question so it sounds like it's for the benefit of other people, but I'll be quite honest with you here. After reading through the press releases and bios of yours, it sounds fascinating what you do, but I still don't really have an exact idea of what it is that you do. So can you sort of run us through exactly what it is?
Can't help you.
You can't help me.
I mean, it's all based in this post-punk culture of this like dark wave, folky stuff, plus the whole original industrial bands, all of that. But that's like the subculture it originated from. But me personally, I've been very much inspired by these songwriters, like the classic names like Tom Waits and Nick Cave and Johnny Cash, and most important to me, Leonard Cohen. Like these guys who would just toil away on the lyrics for ages and have this whole poetic persona that fascinated me even as a young kid. When I wasn't even understanding one word of English, I could sense that there's a little bit more going on there than just your average pop song or whatever. And that's sort of like the culture, along with the more European Chanson and stuff like that. Jacques Brel, to mention just one of my all-time favorites. So there's that whole tradition that is mixed in with whatever remnants of rock and roll. Yeah, this whole post-punk, let's say.
Yeah, very cool. Well, if anyone wants to explore it further for themselves, Rome will be out here in August from the 22nd in Adelaide, then Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney. So head out and have a look for yourself. I think I might come to the Brisbane show. It sounds like it'll be a good night.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very much looking forward to it.